you Americans are so gullible. No, you won't accept communism outright. But we'll keep feeding you small doses of socialism until you finally wake up and find you already have communism. We won't have to fight you. We'll so weaken your economy until you fall like overripe fruit into our hands.
Are we here? We were warned that the communists were not going to go away. They were just getting started. Ezra Taft Benson knew that serious threat. He saw it firsthand. He knew communists were in the government. He knew they were in the government. You know who this is, right? This is Joseph McCarthy. You know who he is. Do you know who this guy is? Do you know this guy? Ever heard of him? How about him? Boy, you should, America. These people were communist spies. Let me read their positions. This is Harry Dexter here. He worked for the Treasury Secretary Morgenthau. Recognize that name? Probably not. Probably haven't been taught. Morgenthau. FDR. This is Alger Hiss. You might have heard that name before. He worked in the Department of Agriculture. Gee, Department of Agriculture. That's Ezra Taft Benson. He worked in the Department of Agriculture. He was also in committees and DOJ, the State Department. This is Lori Curry here. He worked in the Treasury Department, assistant to the president. I'd say there's probably some pretty good intel there. Do you think? In 1938, the House Committee on Un-American Activities was formed. 1938. Not by this guy, but by this guy. Martin Dies. He's a Democrat. Did you know that? 1938. Not him, him. In fact, all the things that he wrote into the president later, Joseph McCarthy, all of these things came from him. But this guy had credibility. So they just pushed it all aside. They stonewalled him. What do they say about McCarthy? Oh, he's conducting witch hunts, smearing innocent victims, spreading hysteria. On February 11th, 1950, McCarthy wrote this telegram to the president, President Truman, in which he explained, I have in my possession the names of 57 communists who are in the State Department at present. He got the information here. A couple of years ago, I put this book down. It came in when it was brand new, maybe 2-3 years ago, I don't know when. And I don't know how much I read, probably read about this much. And then I read some of the footnotes and everything else, and I put it down. And the reason why I put it down is because I don't want to believe this. I don't want to believe it. I put it down and I went, I'm not ready to hear that. I can't handle that, okay? Please, America, please read this book. I'm going to introduce you to the author of this book. He's, what is he, 80? 75? He's been looking into this. He wrote this book to prove his grandmother wrong because Grandma said, he's telling the truth. He went and tried to find the documents to prove his grandmother wrong. It didn't end up that way. History that isn't taught, and you are going to be the only one able to teach it. You must know it. I'll introduce you to this gentleman next.
It's about 9 million degrees in New York today. Don't bother going outside. Just eat a lot of ice cream and get a copy of The Overton Window. You don't even have to leave your house. Just go to glennbeck.com/books and order it. Or download the ebook.
Today, communism has a happy face. It's a fashion statement. Call somebody a communist and it's a joke. But as you've seen tonight, from Hollywood to class to the Oval Office, Marxism is alive and well. It is thriving here in the United States. You might know what it is, but our children do not. We just think that somehow or another they know, but they do not. And they are not being taught the evil of communism and socialism. Progressives do know what it means, and they can mutate it. It always mutates. It goes undercover. Vladimir Putin was a lieutenant colonel. There he is. KGB. Artists who portray him negatively, people handing out anti-Putin information, have been arrested by Secret Service police now. Other opponents, like former KGB agent Alexander Levinko, mysteriously gets poisoned. How? Putin now has videos made glorifying him. He's pictured riding shirtless on his horseback. The guy was a KGB agent. Where was the turning point? I believe America's turning point was Joseph McCarthy. And again, with the Berlin Wall falling down. Joseph McCarthy was so discredited, it made it almost into a joke. And when the Berlin Wall fell down, we beat it. And so now we disregarded it. Well, here we go again, down the same road. I want to bring in M. Stanton Evans. He is the author of Blacklisted by History, the untold story of Senator Joe McCarthy. What an honor to meet you, sir.
The honor is mine.
Do you remember I called you maybe 3 years ago?
3 years.
3 years ago? And
2007.
And I said, I can't even finish your book. I can't.
That.
Remember that?
I did.
I said, I don't want to believe this stuff, and I wanted to find out if you were a crackpot or not, because I didn't want to fill my head full of crackpot stuff.
Sure.
And we had a conversation.
We did.
Tell me, America, this is such an important turning point. Tell me, when you went to go look for the documents on Joseph McCarthy, what did you find or not find?
I found a lot of stuff missing, a lot of stuff that had been censored, a lot of stuff that was in the records in one place but blacked out in another place. Mostly what I found was that the FBI files, which backed up what McCarthy was saying, had been withheld for 50 years. And we now have them, or many of them, and they show essentially that he was right in general. There was a massive penetration of the government, and that it was covered up, and that he threatened that cover-up. And that's why he was isolated, demonized, and destroyed. Right. That's the technique.
Okay. Tell me about Dies, because he was a Democrat.
He was the precursor of McCarthy in the sense that he investigated the same things. He was doing it at a time, he was a Democrat, he was the chairman of a committee. He was doing it at a time, mostly in World War II, when the Soviet Union was our ally. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people just didn't pay any attention to him. I mean, I had those hearings, they're very fine hearings. But a lot of the information that McCarthy later had, Dies did not have. He did not have direct access to the FBI stuff. I'm not sure McCarthy did either, but McCarthy had more stuff coming into him.
And McCarthy was, I mean, he was just an imperfect vessel, or was he not? Was he clean? Was he just completely...
He was imperfect, as we all are.
Yeah, yeah.
He made his mistakes, but he was telling the truth.
Okay.
And the truth was huge. It was so huge. We turned out the big lie, Hitler, and so there's also a big truth. A truth so big that people can't believe it.
Right.
And that's kind of what you're saying.
That's why I didn't want to read this, because it changes your focus, and nobody wants to. I mean, gosh, nobody wants to believe that there were people in our government that were bad. You can believe in individuals, but you can't believe this mass kind of this cover-up.
There were hundreds of them.
You showed me a document. Can you bring this again? Yes. Tell me what this document is. This, well, America will horrify you.
This is, what this is, Glenn, is a record of the so-called Yalta Conference. This is long before McCarthy came along. This is 1945, where Churchill and Roosevelt met with Stalin at Yalta, which is a resort on the Black Sea in the Crimea. And this is the transcript of what, or minutes of what happened at that meeting. An official version of this was published, but the paragraph that I'm going to, maybe I'll give it to you to read, is about Roosevelt is saying to Stalin and Churchill that he is going to meet with the king of Saudi Arabia after this conference, King Saud. And Stalin asked him, does he intend to make any concessions to King Saud of Saudi Arabia? And I'll let you read what the answer is where the arrow is.
The president replied that there was only one concession he thought he might offer, and that was to give him the 6 million Jews in the United States.
Yes.
This is a collection, where is this from?
That is from the papers of Edward Stettinius, who was the Secretary of State at the time of Yalta. Those papers are at the University of Virginia in Charlottesville. That paragraph.
What does he mean by he'd give?
Well, one might think that he was a closet anti-Semite, but I think it also suggests that maybe he was a little bit gaga.
This is at the end of, this is real close to the end of.
He died 2 months after Yalta.